Get ready to see the most unusual and rare historical photos. I will be glad to receive your subscription.
Special effects specialist John Fulton during the filming of the film at Universal Studios, USA, 1956. American military pilots on the background of a Martin B-26B-15 MA Marauder bomber with the inscription "The Mad Russian," probably January 1944. A man and his dog cart for traveling by rail. Alaska, July 28, 1912. The Missouri Pacific Railroad incinerator, USA, 1941. Demonstration of a device for safe bathing, United States, Pittsburgh, 1910. Tove Marika Jansen, known worldwide as the creator of the Moomins, poses for a photographer in the studio, Finland, 1956. Afghan women in traditional clothes, 1968. A young man in his Citroën 2CV Bricoli, Bobo Dioulasso, Burkina Faso, 1968. A SAR Class K locomotive with a 6-wheel coal tender drove onto the turntable of the fan depot, Australia, 1922. The rotary platform of a fan depot is a special technical device that has historically been used for maneuvering steam locomotives and other railway equipment inside the depot. An interview with a Soviet cryptographer who fled to the West, Canada, 1954. In 1945, Soviet cryptographer Igor Gazenko, who worked at the Soviet embassy in Ottawa, fled to the West, taking 109 secret documents. A boy helps adults in their family clothing business in the Iraqi city of Baghdad, 1963. Theatrical life in Australia. Adult actors show children a cow costume from a future production in which they will participate together. New South Wales, 1930. Israeli farmers try to drive away a swarm of locusts with a sheet and brushwood on an Israeli farm in the 1930s. A buffalo-drawn wagon in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, 1900. By the time this picture was taken, the number of bison in America had dramatically decreased, leaving about 300 of them. Although at the end of the 18th century, their number was 30 to 60 million. Italian tightrope walker Maria Spelterini, sometimes spelled as Spelterina, crosses the Niagara River Gorge on a tightrope with 2 baskets of peaches on her feet, July 1876. In 1876, she demonstrated incredible skill by crossing Niagara Falls on a tightrope. On July 12th of that year, she covered the distance over the waterfall in 11 minutes, moving face forward, and then returned back in 10 minutes, walking backwards. A European moving in a hammock. Aleda, Benin, 1895. At the end of the 19th century, Africa was strongly influenced by European powers. Europeans often used the local population to perform various jobs, including moving them in hammocks, a convenient means of transportation in hot climates. The Samuel Pierpont Langley bolometer, or unit with an equatorial photographic camera, is installed in the camp of the American mission sent by the Smithsonian Institution to observe the solar eclipse. Wadesboro, North Carolina, 1900. A Tamil girl collects tea. Ceylon, 1891. In the middle of the 19th century, the British Empire began to actively develop tea plantations in Ceylon after coffee crops were destroyed by disease. Tamils from South India were brought to the island as cheap labor to work on plantations. Many of them lived in extremely poor conditions, working for almost pennies. An English hunter with his trophies. British India, 1883. An Englishman who, as Rudyard Kipling said, has the so-called white burden on his shoulders. He shows off the trophies he got while hunting. These are the skulls of buffaloes, antelopes, Kootenai sheep, mountain goats, leopard skins, and other creatures. Arrest of gangsters. American gangsters suspected of murdering Charles King Solomon, a Jewish immigrant from Russia who controlled bootlegging, drug trafficking, and gambling in Boston. He was shot dead at the Canton Club in Boston in January 1933. A lifeguard inspects the swollen Big Thompson River for possible flood victims. Loveland, Colorado, 1976. On July 31st, 1976, heavy rains caused the Big Thompson River in Colorado to overflow its banks, killing at least 144 people, injuring more than 250, and leaving at least 5 missing. Breakfast of the Unemployed at the Tacoma Commons Mission Building, Tacoma, Pierce County, 1930. Tacoma Commons is an American charity that helps the homeless and unemployed. Decanting of wine in Bercy warehouses, Paris, 1904. Decanting wine is the process of pouring a drink from a bottle into a special decanter. The purpose of the process is to separate the wine from the sediment and saturate it with oxygen. Some wines require time to interact with the air, from 20 minutes to 2 hours. During this process, the wine breathes, being enriched with oxygen, which allows its taste and aroma to reach fullness. Dogcart, the Netherlands, 1904. In the early 20th century, horses were expensive to keep in the Netherlands, especially in rural areas. Dogs, on the other hand, required fewer resources and could be an alternative for light work. People crossed the bridge over the Elbe River in Tangermund, blown up by the Germans to escape the chaos behind German lines caused by the approach of advancing Soviet troops, on May 1, 1945. The picture shows women waiting at the entrance to an air raid shelter during the German air raids on London. They were special protective masks issued to the civilian population to prevent face burns from incendiary bombs. London, 1941. Tea break. England, 1968. Tea was brought to Britain in the 17th century from China and was initially considered a luxury available only to the upper strata of society. A musical milkman on a London street, 1930. Music as a means of notification that a milkman has arrived. There is also a bell that is rung, and the whole neighborhood immediately realizes that some kind of merchant has arrived. The delivery man, 1934. He delivers buttermilk. Buttermilk is a low, fat cream, a byproduct obtained during the production of butter from cow's milk. Accident at the intersection of Clerkenwell Road and Farringdon Road. London, June 11, 1962. Colin O'Brien, who took this picture, reported, "Later I read that a child died in this accident. There were rumors that the traffic lights went out of order and all turned green at the same time." Caretaker Herbert Jones weighs a baby king penguin at London Zoo, 1952. At the age of 13 weeks, he weighs 28 pounds, 12.7 kilograms, and is in excellent condition. Girls on scooters. Miami, 1935. The first scooter appeared much earlier than one might expect. Its history dates back to the early 19th century, although modern versions of this vehicle became popular only in the 20th and 21st centuries. At a height. China, 1980. Chinese women perform maintenance work on high-voltage electrical cables at the Fushun power plant. A Jewish shoemaker prepares for Shabbat Eve in a coal cellar in New York, where he lives with his family, 1887. By the end of the 19th century, New York had earned a well-deserved reputation as the capital of the slums. At that time, the city became a magnet for migrants seeking their American dream on a new continent. Italian immigrants who arrived in Argentina in search of a better life are pictured aboard a wagon at an immigrant hotel in Buenos Aires, 1899. The photograph, taken by American traveler and writer Frank George Carpenter in 1899, reflects the wave of European migration to South America as thousands of Italians sought new opportunities in Argentina's rapidly growing cities. Two elderly women standing barefoot in the mud, with donkeys and baskets, fishing on the sacred island of Lindisfarne off the coast of Northumberland, England, circa 1900. An elderly woman smokes while doing needlework in her small room in a communal apartment. New York, circa 1890. George VI at the age of 2, 1897. George VI, 1895 to 1952, plays as a child. He ascended the throne as King of Great Britain in 1936 after the abdication of his elder brother Edward VIII. In the 1980s, photographer Ron Turner captured a scene in which a girl uses a pay phone on City Island in the Bronx, New York. Aleut women harvest grass for weaving. Attu Island, 1909. Attu Island belongs to the United States, and now, according to Wikipedia, there is no population there. Philippines, 1930. Bamboo water transport is a traditional method of water transportation that has been used and continues to be used in some regions of the world, especially in Southeast Asia, Central Africa, and the Pacific Islands. A 1959 Buick LeSabre convertible freezes after firefighters extinguished the effects of a factory fire during the freezing winter of 1961 in New York City. Fashion show aboard the New York New Haven, Hartford train, 1949. In those years, fashion demonstrations on trains of this route were a popular business. Many models were employed in it, and this is almost the only surviving photograph of just one of them. The Little Parisian, 1952. A baguette is one of the symbols of French culture and cooking, a crispy long bun with a soft core that has gained popularity all over the world. Joseph Archer, a French engineer, and his aerial locomotive powered by an electric or gas engine. France, 1933. American officers Lieutenant Colonel Ben Thompson and Virgil Happy with bundles of money in the vault of the Bank of Magdeburg, where the Reichsmarks for $280 million were found, 1945. After the fall of the Third Reich, this money immediately turned into candy wrappers. Their value is zero or for souvenirs. One of the warehouses filled to the ceiling with the shoes of the victims. Auschwitz, Poland, 1944. Auschwitz was the largest Nazi death camp, where about 1.1 million people, most of whom were Jews, were exterminated between 1940 and 1945. There were also Poles, Gypsies, and Soviet prisoners of war in the camp. Geese go on their last trip near Cheltenham, 1931. For them, this is not a fun trip at all, as they are going to the market, and their final destination is the Christmas dinner table. In a London bookstore after the release of Vladimir Nabokov's novel Lolita, 1955. Lolita is one of the most famous and controversial novels by Russian-American writer Vladimir Nabokov, published in 1955. The doctor adjusts the beam trajectory of a 2 million electron-volt X-ray machine for deep therapy used to treat cancer patients at Francis Delafield Hospital in New York City, USA, 1956. Pneumatic mail covering 23 New York post offices and stretching for 27 miles. It functioned until 1957. Pneumatic mail is a system for delivering messages and small loads by means of capsules moved inside pipes under the action of compressed air or vacuum. Open-air schools were very popular in the Netherlands at the beginning of the 20th century. These schools were part of a broader movement aimed at improving children's health and fighting diseases such as tuberculosis, which was especially prevalent among the urban population at the time. Laundry in San Remo, Italy, around the turn of the 20th century. Laundries were not only a place to perform household chores, but also an important social center. The women gathered here to socialize, share news, and even address some issues of the local community. A Tramp on a Paris Street, 1929. The global economic crisis of the 1929-1930s led to massive unemployment in France. Many people lost their jobs and could not provide for themselves and their families. This has forced some to leave their homes in search of work or simply a livelihood. In May 1949, Charles Langs introduced an innovative solution for sunbathing women, a pair of bra cups that could be easily secured to the body with a special safety adhesive. A house painter on the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco climbs the main cable, 1947. Construction began in January 1933 and took about 4.5 years. New York, the 1930s. Most likely, the people in the photo are heating a special oven on wheels for cooking hot corn or baked potatoes. Many New Yorkers bought hot corn and potatoes not just as a snack, but to warm their hands on a chilly winter day. Robberies during a blackout in Brooklyn, 1977. The power outage began on the evening of July 13, 1977 and lasted about 25 hours. Residents of the black neighborhoods perceived the power outage as an opportunity to take revenge on the system and enrich themselves. Mass looting began. Blacks looted shops, houses, and set cars on fire. Rotary snowplow, ca. 1885. 3 men watch as a large rotary snowplow clears railroad tracks in Ivanhoe, Colorado. A dealer in meat for pets, horse meat. London, circa 1890s. At the beginning of the 19th century, a new kind of merchant appeared in London. They walked around the city or sold pet food at the market. A young woman plays the mandolin. Guanajuato, Mexico, late 19th century. The mandolin is a compact plucked stringed instrument derived from the lute. Sometimes it seems that there is more life in the photographs of those times than in modern smartphones. Crimean winter clothes. The Russian Empire, Crimea, 1856. Captain Brown of the 4th Light Dragoon Regiment, sitting, and his servant in winter uniform. Soldiers of the British Empire fought on the side of the Ottoman Empire in Russia during the Crimean War. 3 homeless boys sleep on the stairs in an alley on the Lower East Side, New York, 1890. Slaves in the coffee farmyard. Vale do Paraíba, São Paulo, 1882. Brazil was the last place in America to abolish slavery. This only happened in 1888. Skating rink in the Forbidden City. Beijing, 1957. The Imperial Palace in Beijing is called the Forbidden City. Previously, no one could just get there except for the emperor and his entourage. It is a whole city inside Beijing. View of Fujiyama. Japan, 1920. Fujiyama is an active stratovolcano on Honshu Island, the highest peak in Japan. The photo clearly shows the scale of this famous volcano. Hanoi, Vietnam, 1939. Vietnam is now one of the world leaders in rice production and export. The plantations are harvested 3 times a year. Girls with bandaged feet. Shaanxi Province, China, 1930. Foot bandaging is a custom that originated in ancient China. It became popular during the Song Dynasty, X, 13th century, and persisted until the XX century. The consequences of such bandaging were very serious: deformity of bones and soft tissues, limited mobility, impaired blood flow, the risk of osteoporosis and fractures of the femoral neck. Fishing with cormorants. China, 1946. This is a traditional method in which fishermen use trained cormorants to fish in rivers. Masters of such fishing can still be seen in China, Japan, and Vietnam. The advertising campaign for the famous drink in Thailand failed from the very beginning. Then the marketers went to the trick and announced that her drinks were the favorite drink of the gods. Since then, sales have grown and drinks have been actively used for offerings. Thanks to this campaign, Coca-Cola has strengthened its position and even pushed aside its main competitor, Pepsi. Transportation of tires at the Renault factory. France, 1950. The history of the Renault automobile plant began back in 1899 when the brothers Louis, Marcel, and Fernand founded Renault Frères in France. Autobahn, West Germany, 1972. The first Autobahn in Germany was opened on August 6, 1932, between Cologne and Bonn. There are now more than 120 expressways in the country. Portrait of fishermen with a catch on the Lofoten Islands, 1910. Lofoten fishing is considered a traditional and culturally rich fishery in Norway. For many centuries, it has played an important role for both the local and national economies. Fishermen from all over the Norwegian coast still come to Lofoten to fish. Paris, the 1920s. The big car is the Renault AG Paris Taxi, produced by the French automaker Renault from 1905 to 1910. Before the outbreak of World War I, there were more than 10,000 such taxis in Paris. A woman carries the dishes. Jerusalem, the beginning of the 20th century. An Arab woman carries a heavy basket with pottery on her head. Mexico, 1927. Making bricks by the artisanal method is a very difficult task. Prepare the raw materials, make the mold, process, and dry. A woman and her dog in their one-room house. Texas, 1938. The furniture in those difficult times was quite good. A bed with bumps, a cast iron stove, a chest of drawers, a foot-operated sewing machine next to the bed. In 1955, an American feature film in the genre of teen drama, Rebel Without a Cause, was released, starring the icon of all teenagers of the 50s and 60s, actor James Dean. In the movie, he drove a Mercury car. And after the premiere of the film in 1955, the Mercury Coupe became a cult model that all young fans coveted. And physicist Norris Bradbury sits next to the gadget, a nuclear device created by scientists to test the world's first atomic bomb at the Alamogordo test site in New Mexico in 1945.
Friends, subscribe and write your opinion in the comments.